Welcome back. Welcome to the Premier Mindset by Premier Performance LLC. I'm your host, Trent Mahler, LCSW, clinical therapist and performance coach, and this is episode 34. Most people think procrastination is just about being lazy or unmotivated. But that's not true. Procrastination isn't a time problem, it's an intention problem. The truth is, even the most disciplined, high-performing people struggle to take action when their mind is stuck in the wrong place, the past or the future. Anywhere but the present. Procrastination shows up everywhere. When you scroll instead of starting the project, when you overthink instead of sending the email, or when you convince yourself you work better under pressure. What's really happening isn't about effort, it's about avoidance. And mindfulness is one of the most powerful tools to break that cycle. It trains your mind to stay in the moment where action actually happens. Today we're breaking down how procrastination works beneath the surface, what mindfulness really does to your brain, and how to train yourself to stop delaying and start doing. You learn how to move from mental clutter to mental clarity and how to take action even when motivation isn't there. Quick note before we dive in, this podcast is for education and performance growth. It's not a replacement for therapy or medical treatment. If there is something you need, make sure you go get it. And there's a lot of great people out there that you can work with to take care of these things. We just want to increase awareness and help give you guys a head start. You can watch full episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and we also have the audio-only version on Apple Podcasts. I'll also be sharing clips across Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and X every day. So hit subscribe or follow to catch every drop of new content. We have new podcast episodes coming out every week and new content dropping daily. All the links are in the show notes if there is something you want to jump into. We're growing these communities, so feel free to get involved and get into those communities now. If you've ever felt stuck between what you need to do and what you actually do, this episode is for you. Now let's get into it. What is procrastination? Procrastination is the act of voluntarily delaying or postponing a task even when you know there could be a negative consequence. It's often a coping mechanism to avoid negative feelings like anxiety, stress, or overwhelming associated with the task. Instead of doing the important task, a person may engage in less demanding or more enjoyable activities, which provides temporary relief but leads to more stress later. This is short-term relief, but it usually leads to long-term problems. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is a practice that involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It encompasses non-reactivity, which is observing thoughts, feelings, and sensations without getting caught up in them. It focuses on acceptance, accepting experiences as they are without trying to change or avoid them. There's a big focus on the present, paying attention to what is happening right now rather than dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. And curiosity is a huge factor as well, which is approaching experiences with an open mind and a sense of wonder. Now, how do they impact each other? Mindfulness can reduce procrastination by helping you to accept and manage negative emotions and perfectionism. While procrastination can reduce mindfulness by creating stress and anxiety, that makes it harder to stay present. Procrastination often stems from avoiding unpleasant feelings about a task, and a mindful approach allows you to observe these feelings without acting on them, thereby breaking the cycle. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's emotional avoidance. Let's talk a little bit more about that emotional avoidance. High performers don't delay because they don't care. They delay because they care too much. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of not being enough hides under the surface of every "I'll do it later." Procrastination is an emotional regulation problem, not a lack of discipline. It stems from avoiding negative emotions like anxiety, boredom, or overwhelm that are triggered by the task. It is a coping mechanism to seek immediate relief from discomfort rather than a character flaw of laziness. And I'm really hammering on that point because I don't want you guys to take it on as feeling like this is just who you are, because that's often how people will look at things like procrastination, is feeling like this is just the way I work. And that's not true. What we're dealing with here is an emotional regulation problem that's not being handled the right way. And if we can take care of it, we can get past it. And a factor of that is the emotional loop. Procrastination gives temporary relief, which rewards avoidance. That brief calm after delaying a task is the brain's dopamine trap. Mindfulness helps break the loop by noticing the feeling instead of feeding it. The emotional loop of procrastination is a self-defeating cycle where avoidance provides temporary relief from negative emotion, but the subsequent anxiety and guilt reinforce the urge to procrastinate again. This leads to a negative emotion like guilt, which makes future engagement with the task more difficult, restarting that cycle. So it's very easy to get trapped in it because we tend to beat ourselves up for these things, and then those emotions that we're struggling with because we're beating ourselves up tend to fuel the next cycle of procrastination that comes up. I've had a lot of people that I've worked with talk to me about procrastination and the struggles it's causing for them in their life, and breaking this loop is one of the most important parts of that treatment. The body knows before the brain does. You can feel procrastination before you name it. Tension in your chest, shallow breathing, that restless energy that sends you scrolling instead of starting. Mindfulness builds the awareness to catch that early signal and choose a different response. Our physiological stress responses often precede our conscious understanding, which is why recognition is the first step. The more we are aware of what's going on in our body and what we're feeling and what's happening in this situation, the quicker we can control it and do something about it. That leads us to the success we're looking for, instead of getting stuck in a spot where things just go the way they go and we're just being led by our emotions or by how we're feeling in that moment. Because that isn't any sense of control, and that usually leads to more and more problems. So try and recognize how the body is feeling. Check in with yourself and notice what you're feeling. That's going to be a huge part of breaking the cycle and getting past this procrastination. An opportunity to take advantage of this could be a fighter who learned to calm adrenaline spikes through breath work. Breathwork is a crucial tool for fighters to manage and control adrenaline spikes. Many fighters in combat sports like boxing, MMA, and martial arts recognize that a calm and focused mind is just as important as physical conditioning and skill. By learning to consciously regulate their breathing, they can control their body's physiological response to stress, which in turn helps prevent panic and maintain a tactical advantage. The mind-body connection in combat is key to success. Premier Performance tailors a plan to you specifically to maximize what you can do, and that's why we do it, because it's going to be a little different for everyone out there. So we create a lot of packages and programs that work into who you are as a person, as an individual, to best help you with that mind-body connection to set yourself up for that success. The fight-flight response is triggered by a rush of adrenaline. We talked about this with the threat system in that first episode of the podcast. And it can be a powerful ally, but it can also be a debilitating enemy for a fighter. While it provides a surge of energy and heightened senses, it can lead to tunnel vision, panic, and even gassing out if not managed. Breathwork provides a direct line of communication with the autonomic nervous system to control this response and help us stay in control, being able to lead our body and lead our mind instead of having that fight or flight activated and be in this reactionary state of mind where we start doing things out of impulse or urge instead of what's the right thing in that situation. And this is especially crucial for fighters because if you get into just the impulse or the reactions, you will probably get tempted into a trap, and it's going to lead to possibly a physical injury. Awareness before action. Going further into that, recognition being the first step piece. You can't fix what you can't see. Most people try to change behavior without observing the pattern first. Mindfulness is the diagnostic tool. Procrastination is the symptom. Watch it, name it, understand it, then act. A central principle of mindfulness is transforming how we respond to situations. By intentionally pausing to observe your thoughts and feelings, you move from an automatic autopilot reaction to a deliberate conscious choice. This practice creates a space between stimulus and response, allowing for more thoughtful and effective action. We want to respond, not react. And the more you can respond in your life, in all areas of your life, the more success you're going to have and the better life is going to work out for you. So we got to keep in mind these threat systems and how they're getting activated and try and get away from them and not getting caught up in them. Now let's talk about a common myth of I'll start when I feel ready. This myth is common and it happens all the time, especially with entrepreneurs, especially with people trying to start building their own things. Readiness is not an emotional state, it's a decision. Mindfulness teaches you to act with discomfort instead of waiting for it to disappear. If you just sit and wait for the discomfort to disappear, it doesn't happen. Discomfort goes away through action. Motivation follows movement, not the other way around. Waiting for the perfect time or feeling completely confident is a trap that leads to inaction. While starting small and imperfectly can build momentum and lead to growth. The key is to start before you feel ready, as confidence and clarity come from doing, not from waiting. The more we wait, the more we struggle with these things, and we're not giving ourselves time to build this stuff up and really create that momentum that's going to help propel us forward. And I've done this myself. This is something I'm aware of because I got stuck with it with my own work. There's a lot of times I had the thought of taking some of my work public or trying to put it out there in some way. And I just constantly had this thought of it wasn't ready yet. Like I just needed to keep working on it. I need to keep researching. I need to keep learning, keep adding more and more things to it. And then one day I got to a point where I actually asked myself, if the clients I'm seeing individually are getting benefits from this, they like it, I get lots of great feedback, why wouldn't this be ready for the public? And I just had to start. And it didn't feel good. It wasn't easy. I mean, there's times I even question myself when I'm putting things out there now. But we have to put things out there. Published is better than polished. Stop getting stuck thinking about how to make it better or how to improve it, and just get started putting it out there. You'd be surprised, and you're going to learn a lot of things as you put it out there too. This happens a lot with perfectionism, and it's usually disguised as productivity. Researching more, planning better, waiting for the right time, these are all refined forms of avoidance. Mindfulness helps you spot when your drive for excellence becomes an excuse to delay. Behaviors like excessive planning, endless tweaking, and constant revisions are often rooted in a fear of failure rather than a genuine pursuit of excellence. This behavior is a form of procrastination that prevents action by making one feel they can't start until a flawless outcome is guaranteed, ultimately delaying progress and hindering real results. Going into another example of mindfulness and how this can help with all of these things is a corporate leader who used mindfulness to stop firefighting and start leading strategically. A firefighting leader tends to react to symptoms. In this reactive state, the leader's day is filled with constant triage. They address immediate problems but never get to the root causes, creating self-perpetuating cycles of crisis. They work in a bottleneck. They believe that they can only fix the problems and it has to be them. As a result, every decision and potential solution funnels through them, creating a bottleneck that overwhelms them and paralyzes the team. They confuse busyness with value. They mistake their constant activity and long hours for true productivity. This can mask deeper issues like inefficiency and a lack of focus on what truly matters. They also exhaust themselves in the team. This leader or style of leadership leads to burnout for both the leader and the team, as everyone is in a constant state of high alert. On the other hand, the strategic leader addresses root causes. The mindful leader recognizes patterns and identifies the systematic issues that cause recurring problems. And instead of just treating the symptoms, they address the underlying cause to prevent future fires. They empower the team. Through increased self-awareness, the leader realizes their habit of micromanagement is rooted in anxiety. They learn to delegate effectively and trust their team to solve problems, empowering their people to develop their own skills. They also value clarity over busyness. By stepping back, the leader intentionally creates space for deep strategic thinking. The shift is intentional and often involves eliminating low-value tasks from their day. And this leads us to the performance paradox. Sometimes we have to slow down to go faster. Athletes and CEOs who train mindfulness understand that calm focus leads to sharper execution. Slowing your breathing, scanning your body, and grounding yourself before a high-stakes task actually improves speed and precision later. Slowing down can lead to faster, better results by reducing errors, fostering a learning mindset, and allowing for strategic pauses. Rushing can create mistakes and burnout, while taking time to think, plan, and improve processes allows for more effective and sustainable progress in the long run. Sometimes we have to slow things down and understand where we're at. If we just keep pushing forward all day long, we're going to get to a point where things start to break and things aren't working the way that we want them to. So we have to take care of these things. A good example of someone slowing down before performance and they performed at a very high level is Novak Djokovic. His body awareness before every serve is a huge piece of his success. His pre-serve routine showcases his remarkable body awareness and mental preparation, highlighting a deep understanding of his own biomechanics and how to optimize them under pressure. Here's how this body awareness manifests before every serve. Djokovic exhibits a deliberate rhythm in his movements leading up to the serve. Focus on controlled actions from his feet up through his core and arms. He incorporates movements like neck rotation, dynamic leg stretches, and core activation, ensuring his body is ready for competition. His pre-serve stance involves a wide base and dynamic movement, allowing him to be in the ideal spot with near perfect balance. He pays attention to the function of his non-dominant arm for body rotation, leverage, balance, and generating rotational force. He also keeps his upper body, relaxed to allow for fluid and efficient energy transfer during the serve. Djokovic utilizes conscious breathing, specifically techniques like the physiological sigh, 2 inhales through the nose, followed by a long, slow exhale through the mouth. So it kind of looks like this. This helps to regulate his nervous system and clear stress between points before his serves. He has also been observed using techniques like massaging his diaphragm to release tension and activate the vagus nerve, which helps shift the body into a relaxed state. There's a lot of different techniques to calm the body and get ourselves into a place where we are ready to optimally perform. And those 2 inhales followed by the long, slow exhale, that physiological sigh, is a very common process that a lot of people and animals do without thinking about it. If you have a dog, you could hear your dog doing this at times. It happens all the time. It's constant. It's just we never really pay attention to it. So notice it. Let's see if we see it pop up in your life. You might be surprised. Going further, he also uses visualizations to mentally rehearse the perfect performance, including imagining his movements and shots, which helps improve his accuracy and consistency. This mental practice builds a richer mental model of performance, making his brain's predictive processing more robust during the actual serve. And we talked about the power of visualization and mental rehearsal on episode 24. If you want to check that out, we go a little bit more in depth about all of that. I think that could be powerful. Djokovic emphasizes the importance of staying in the moment and not dwelling on mistakes. He uses conscious breathing to reset quickly and refocus on the present, believing that this allows him to bounce back faster from setbacks. Another common issue that a lot of people struggle with is overthinking. And overthinking is unmindful thinking. The mind loops to avoid uncertainty, and this is what's happening with overthinking. Mindfulness interrupts that spiral by pulling you out of prediction and back into presence, back into what's going on right now. This helps because what's actually happening right now is grounded in reality, and it's not focused on what could go wrong later, which is not happening right now. And think of how many times we've been caught up thinking about how things can go wrong later, and how many times it hasn't actually helped. Sometimes we just get stuck thinking about these worst case scenarios and they never actually happen. We're just focusing on things that hurt. Ultimately, mindfulness is the active practice that can help break the cycle of overthinking. By training yourself to observe your thoughts and ground yourself in the present, you can detach from unproductive thought spirals and foster a calmer, clearer mind. Another part that gets in the way with procrastination is the activation energy problem. The hardest part is starting. Mindfulness helps you shrink the task to a single step, typing 1 sentence, opening the document, walking into the gym. It's the mental version of a warm-up set before performance. To overcome activation energy as a problem, you can make the first step easier. This reduces the initial effort needed, making it easier to continue once you start, and then you can start building up momentum to continue with what you're doing. We can also go from judgment to curiosity. The mindful performer doesn't say, "I can't focus." They ask, "What's making focus hard right now?" While it's a little shift, it's powerful. Curiosity keeps you engaged long enough to adapt, while judgment shuts you down. If you say, "I can't focus," your body starts to accept that this is just the truth, that it's just a reality. You're not going to be able to focus. When you start to ask yourself what's making focus hard right now, you might get some answers. You might figure out what's going wrong and things you can do to get that fixed. But again, recognition is the first step. If we don't understand what's happening, it's really hard to figure these things out. To shift from judgment to curiosity using mindfulness, you want to practice becoming aware of judgmental thoughts without immediately acting on them. Instead, observe your thoughts with openness, ask open-ended questions, and approach new experiences with a sense of wonder. This practice involves noticing your present experience without analyzing it, which diffuses judgment and can lead to greater contentment. At the end of the day, mindfulness is an antidote to burnout. Chronic procrastination and overdrive both come from the same place, dysregulated stress. Mindfulness builds recovery into performance so you can sustain momentum without hitting the wall. Mindfulness acts as an antidote to burnout by reducing stress, improving emotional resilience, and increasing self-awareness through non-judgmental observation of thoughts and feelings. It can decrease emotional exhaustion and depersonalization, which are key symptoms of burnout. However, it is not a complete solution and should be supplemented by organizational changes like managing excessive workloads to be fully effective. And this is also why at Premier Performance we provide consulting services to help set up the business or the team in a way that is going to manage burnout and make sure people can continue to be successful and continue to grow where they are. Anyone that's been out there working in a business or trying to do something for themselves, trying to start something from the ground, is pretty familiar with this concept, that the issue that we run into isn't so much that we have a bad idea or that the idea isn't working. The issue people run into is usually burning out before it starts to work. And this happens with most ideas, is we have a good idea, but we don't have the ability to grind on it long enough to create a reality from it. So we have to be willing to do the work for long periods of time, which means we have to be able to continue to do the work. It has to be sustainable. And this is why mindfulness is such a core practice to being successful as a high-achieving individual. Now let's talk a little bit about how elite performers use mindfulness to manage pressure. By centering themselves in the present moment rather than being distracted by anxiety or past mistakes. This heightened self-awareness helps regulate attention and emotion, allowing elite performers to remain composed and make better decisions under stress. There are some core mindfulness techniques that people use quite often, like breath awareness. Athletes use specific breathing exercises like square breathing or tactical breathing to regulate their emotions and calm their nervous system in stressful moments. This practice physically helps control the body, which makes it easier to control the mind. They also use mental resets. Performers practice techniques to quickly regain focus after a mistake or distraction. This on to the next one mentality helps them let go of a poor play and focus on the immediate task. It's a quick way to anchor back to the present moment using cues like a deep breath or a specific phrase. This is huge because things are going to go wrong. When you are performing at any high level, things go wrong. It's going to happen. So we have to be able to reset and get back to work again without letting it spiral and collapse into more and more failures. And we see that every day in competition, in business, and anything else. Another piece that we talked about before, visualization. Using mental imagery, elite performers visualize themselves succeeding under pressure, which strengthens their mental rehearsal. This can include imagining overcoming obstacles, performing with ease, and engaging all their senses to make the rehearsal more vivid and effective. Again, we talked about that more in episode 24, so check that out. A great example of these techniques being in use is Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson. They used a lot of things pre-game, both with breathing and visualization. Some of it was similar to Novak Djokovic, as we spoke about earlier, but Phil Jackson's approach is his own. Jackson was known for his Zen master approach, incorporating elements of Zen Buddhism and mindfulness into his coaching. He encouraged his players, including Michael Jordan, to practice meditation and breathing exercises to improve focus, manage pressure, and enhance team cohesion. Jackson's coaching philosophy included the concept of one breath, one mind, emphasizing present moment awareness and collective focus through controlled breathing. Jackson promoted team-wide visualization where players mentally rehearse strategies and successful scenarios. And all of this helped Michael Jordan create his own approach. While initially skeptical of Jackson's Zen stuff, Jordan ultimately embraced mindfulness and visualization, albeit with a more personalized approach. Jordan, known for his ability to perform under pressure, often utilized visualization during clutch situations, replaying past successes in his mind. Jordan used diaphragmatic breathing to regulate his nervous system, reduce performance anxiety, and stay focused during crucial moments. Even Michael Jordan can feel anxiety in these situations. And if Michael Jordan can feel it, so can you, I promise. So again, it's not about trying to overcome these things, it's about managing them. We have to find techniques and we got to use these strategies to take advantage and set ourselves up for success, not crumble to it. Diaphragmatic breathing, also known as belly or abdominal breathing, is a relaxation technique that uses the diaphragm, which is the dome-shaped muscle at the base of our lungs, for more efficient breathing. This deep, intentional breathing can activate the body's natural relaxation response, countering the stress-induced fight or flight response that can happen when anxiety does pop up in our life. So keep trying these things out. Look into them a little bit more yourself if you're interested in them, and see how it's helping you in your life. Mindfulness is very powerful, and it can help us overcome a lot of things. Procrastination and the fear of success. Many high achievers delay not because they fear failure, but because they fear change, visibility, or even expectation. Mindfulness brings those fears to the surface where they can be reframed. Procrastination is often linked to the fear of failure, but it can also be driven by an underlying fear of success, and this is something people don't talk about enough. When on the verge of achieving a goal, some people unconsciously self-sabotage by procrastinating because they are afraid of the consequences and responsibilities that come with success. This behavior keeps them in a comfort zone and it maintains their familiar status quo. We hit on this topic a lot in episode 17, where we talk about the stories we tell and the narratives we live our life by. I see this a lot with clients, whether it's finishing homework but not wanting to turn it in, or whether it's completing the project but not wanting to stand up and say something about it. The reason for that is we're fearing that success and what's going to change. If anyone out there has watched the show Blue Mountain State, the main character talks about not wanting to be a starter the entire show. That's his main thing that he's going about. And part of that is that fear of change. It's the unconscious self-sabotage to keep himself in the status quo of what he knows that feels comfortable and feels good, and it doesn't feel like there's pressure on him to be successful. He can just be him. So this stuff happens constantly. It happens all the time. And mindfulness can really help us expose those stories. Mindfulness can help with things like, I work better under pressure, or I'm not ready yet, or I just need more time. Mindfulness helps because it helps us notice when these are just mental stories and not actual truths. Mindfulness exposes our personal stories, the narratives we construct about ourselves, our lives, and others, by training us to observe our thoughts without judgment. Instead of being lost in the drama of our own mental chatter, mindfulness creates a space of awareness that allows us to see these stories for what they are. Mental events, not absolute truths. On autopilot, the mind constantly generates an internal monologue, creating stories based on past experiences, fears, and biases. For example, a driver who cuts you off on the freeway might trigger an internal story that, if you drive that way, you're an idiot. That person gets caught in the reactive narrative rather than seeing it as a passive thought. And we want to look at these things as passing thoughts, because thoughts are just thoughts. So often we get caught up trying to understand what these thoughts mean and what they're trying to tell us. Sometimes they're truly just thoughts. The brain is an association machine. It's going to connect to past experiences, fears, biases, and other things. So when something comes up, sometimes we got to jump into it and deal with it, but sometimes we got to look at it for what it is, which is just a random association our brain put together. And it may not actually mean anything. Now let's dive into the illusion of busyness. Filling your schedule isn't progress. It's a socially accepted form of procrastination. Mindfulness forces you to pause and ask, is this movement or avoidance? When people fill their time with low-impact, easy, or routine tasks to feel productive, while subconsciously avoiding the more important, difficult work that would lead to an actual progress, this is a common form of procrastination, where the act of staying busy serves as a psychological defense mechanism. Instead of mindlessly scrolling on social media, you stay busy by answering emails or cleaning your desk. It makes you feel productive even though it doesn't move you closer to your goals. I got stuck in that trap with wanting to keep researching before starting my own work through Premier Performance. I talked about that a little bit earlier, where I constantly felt like I had to learn more, that I didn't have what I needed to put this out there. I understand how easy it is to get busy and get caught up with things that feels like we need to get them done. And this is the power of prioritization as well. We have to push ourselves towards our goals, and we can't wait for ourselves to do the work. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Think of how many times people have talked about goals they have and things they want to achieve, but they can't get to in their life. So we have to be able to push towards these things and create things, even with a lot of things on our schedule. And that might involve trying to get things off our schedule. And sometimes we got to be honest with ourselves if this is something I need to do right now, or is this me just avoiding something else I don't want to do right now. Mindful decision making. When you pause before acting, you access the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain responsible for logic and long-term strategy and problem solving. When you rush or avoid, you're letting the amygdala, which is the fear center, run the show. It involves slowing down to move past autopilot reactions, leading to more deliberate, clear, and effective choices. The process incorporates elements of mindfulness, including presence, which is focusing on the here and now, rather than being distracted by past events or worries about the future. Awareness, heightening your consciousness of your internal state and external circumstances. Clarity and intention, which is understanding your goals, values, and purpose to ensure your decisions are aligned with what truly matters to you. So we want to use that mindfulness to better make decisions for us in situations so we don't make a decision that you look back on later like, why did I do that? Think about that in your life. How many times have you made a decision that you thought back on later and regretted and wish you never did? The art of the pause. Every mindful act begins with a pause, a breath between impulse and action. In that space, procrastination dies and intentional performance begins. The intentional practice of creating a space of stillness between a stimulus and your response is huge. In a fast-paced world, this deliberate act of slowing down is a revolutionary counterforce to our tendency to react impulsively and mindlessly. It is not about stopping progress, but about injecting intentionality and awareness into your actions and getting out of the trap of just keep pushing forward. We need to keep working, yes, but we got to be aware of how we're working and what we're doing and not fall into traps that people fall into every single day. Mindfulness can also transform time perception. Under stress, time feels shorter. Pressure compresses perception. Mindfulness expands that sense of time, giving you the clarity to make better decisions, not just faster ones. Drawing our attention to the present moment, which fundamentally alters the brain processing of temporal information, instead of time feeling like a fast-moving stream, mindfulness can make it feel more expansive, detailed, and deliberate. This shift in perception affects both how we experience the present prospectively and how we remember the past retrospectively. This can be intensified in nature. A study by Berman tested participants' cognitive performance after walking in either a nature setting or an urban environment. The group that walked in nature improved their cognitive performance scores by 20%. It's a huge factor in optimized performance in the moment. Outside of cognitive performance, it helps with the lows too. A 90-minute nature walk not only decreased self-reported rumination, but also reduced neural activity in the subgenual prefrontal cortex, a brain region linked to repetitive negative thoughts. So if you struggle with repetitive negative thoughts, especially with performance, get outside and walk in nature. I know it sounds silly, but it really does work. This is backed by research. And it's something we can keep using too. For long-term stress, a controlled mindfulness program reduced the risk of worsening cortisol, which they tested through their hair, by 88.8%. That is huge. And in perceived stress by 54.6%, along with anxiety by 50% controlled to a control group. So we are cutting these things in half, if not even more. Mindfulness is huge, and there's a reason it's talked about so much because it is so powerful and it can do so many things in our life. And I know it seems small. The act of mindfulness is very much just being in the moment. And that can feel very small. It doesn't feel like a concrete tool to use all the time. But the more you practice that muscle, the more you strengthen it, the easier it is to be mindful, and you will feel these benefits start to seep into your life. It will start slowly, but you will not be able to stop once you get there. It's one of those things that the more you do it, the harder it is to ever stop again. And we can even start small with micro-mindfulness. This can be helpful for productivity. Small resets throughout the day, like a 30-second breathing break, short walks, or deliberate stillness before major tasks, can reset attention and stop the drift towards the avoidance. This involves incorporating short, intentional moments of awareness into your workday to improve focus, reduce stress, and prevent burnout. These brief mental resets, which can last from a few seconds to a few minutes, interrupt the autopilot state that can lead to rushed decisions and distractions. By bringing your full attention to the present, you can clear mental clutter and return to tasks with renewed energy and concentration. There's also a link between mindfulness and flow, or flow state. While they are distinct mental states, mindfulness and flow are deeply connected and often work in complementary, sometimes even synergistic fashions. Practicing mindfulness can create the psychological conditions that make it easier and more frequent to enter a state of flow, particularly over the long term. And flow is very helpful with us optimizing performance and operating at those highest levels. Flow is when we're completely locked in and everything feels like it's just clicking. Though both focus on the present moment, they have a critical difference in how they relate to self-awareness. For mindfulness, it involves metacognitive awareness, meaning you are aware that you are aware. You are consciously observing your internal and external experiences without judgment. This creates a separation between the observer and the observed. While with flow, it involves a loss of self-awareness. In the state of complete immersion, your consciousness merges with the activity itself, and you lose track of time and your sense of self, or a sense of separate self. Mindfulness is awareness without judgment. Flow is awareness without effort. You can't reach flow without first developing mindfulness. It's the bridge from conscious focus to automatic excellence. And all these things aren't just wellness tactics, they're performance mechanics. And Ray is a great example of that. CEOs like Ray Dalio credit meditation for clarity under chaos. For hedge fund billionaire and Bridgewater Associates founder Ray Dalio, meditation is not just a wellness trend, it is a core principle of his professional success. He credits his practice of transcendental meditation for providing clarity, equanimity, and creativity, which are critical for navigating the chaos of the financial markets. Dalio began practicing transcendental meditation in 1969, 6 years before founding Bridgewater Associates, and calls it the single most important reason for whatever success I've had. Transcendental meditation is a specific form of meditation that involves sitting quietly for 20 minutes twice a day, repeating a personalized mantra. This technique is designed to help the mind and body settle into a state of restful alertness. Dalio uses the state of calm clarity he achieves through meditation to make better, less emotional decisions, comparing it to being a ninja in a street fight. This perspective helps him see situations in slow motion, allowing him to process and react more effectively when anxiety might otherwise speed things up. There's proven benefits of this for leadership, and that's part of our work at Premier Performance to help you guys be leaders and operate at these high levels as effectively and efficiently as possible. And our work at Premier Performance is about providing these things to you. We have all the tools, techniques, and strategies and skills. You don't have to do the research to try and find all these things. You just let us know what's going on, and we will literally prescribe these things so you can start using them and tailor that experience to your exact situation. That's what we do. At Bridgewater Associates, meditation is a part of the company's culture. Dalio believes meditation has been integral to the fund's success because it helps employees have thoughtful disagreements without emotion. In addition to calmness, Dalio attributes his creativity to his meditation practice. He describes amazing ideas that come to him during deep meditation, which he compares to creative insights that can arise in the shower. Due to the success he has found through that transcendental meditation, he has included it in his own company, ingrained it in the culture. And the power of that is that things that work for us individually can work with the people we work with and the teams we're working on. It doesn't have to just be for us. We can collaborate and work together and lift up everybody. And there's some main takeaways to focus on. It leads to reduced aggression. Meditation helps to quiet the ego and promotes open-mindedness by making you question if you were always right. Daily practice, especially during times of high stress, can help relieve anxieties and restore a state of relaxation. Sometimes we have to create a calm within the storm, and this is a great way meditation can help do that. It also allows for deeper connection with the subconscious, where innovative ideas can emerge more freely, giving us more access to high-level thinking. The subconscious has 100 times the processing power as the conscious brain, which is why using something such as meditation to access it is so powerful. The state of peaceful alertness cultivates the mental clarity needed to make well-reasoned, unbiased choices. The thing that causes issues in business or performance is typically emotional reactions to situations. So, being able to utilize a technique like this, like meditation, to get away from those emotions and be able to observe them, notice them, and then respond how we want to instead of reacting, is a huge, powerful piece of this work. With mindfulness, there's an observe, don't obey rule. Mindfulness teaches you to see urges: the urge to check your phone, the urge to delay, the urge to perfect, without acting on them. Every time you do, you train discipline. The observe, don't obey rule is a core principle in mindfulness for managing difficult feelings and urges, such as cravings, anxiety, or anger. It means acknowledging and observing the sensation or urge with curiosity and without judgment, rather than automatically acting on it. The central idea is that an urge is not a command, it is a temporary mental and physical event that will naturally rise, peak, and fall if not fed or reinforced. By observing the urge instead of obeying it, you break the habitual cycle of craving and reactive behavior. A good example of this is a startup founder who stopped micromanaging by noticing their control anxiety. In the high stakes, high pressure world of startups, the urge to control every detail is a common impulse. Mindfulness provides the self awareness to pause, observe that impulse, and choose a more effective response. The micromanagement habit loop is a difficult trap to get stuck in. For many founders, micromanagement isn't a malicious act, but a fear driven habit. It starts with a trigger. A high stakes project or a deadline approaches, triggering the fear of failure or negative outcomes. That tends to lead to a response. The founder responds with micromanagement, checking in constantly, rewriting work, or giving overly prescriptive instructions. And that's usually followed by reward. The founder gets a temporary feeling of security and control, but the long-term cost is high. You get demoralized employees, stifled creativity, and a bottleneck in productivity. A mindful approach allows the founder to identify this pattern and intervene at the trigger stage by creating space between the anxiety and the action. It's not solving or fixing the anxiety, it's creating enough space so I don't act on it and I can respond to it. First, notice the anxiety. Don't obey the impulse. Then pause. The founder uses a mindfulness technique like a few intentional breaths to create a mindful pause when they feel the urge to intervene. And then take in the observation. The founder can practice the observe, don't obey by recognizing the bodily sensations and thoughts associated with their anxiety. They might notice a tightened chest, racing thoughts, or a narrative like this will all go wrong if I don't fix it. And then finally, reframe. Instead of immediately obeying the urge to control, they ask a critical question. Is this action serving my team, or is it just serving my anxiety? And from there, we can take action in a way that's going to help the team and not just trying to placate the anxiety in some way. Creating a bias towards action. If we combine mindfulness with structure, it can really turn into something powerful. You want to observe, name, and then act. The faster you build that pattern, the less room procrastination has to grow. Mindfulness helps with shifting you from analysis paralysis and overthinking to a state of committed, intentional movement. By training your attention, mindfulness helps you see when a decision is needed. It also helps identify clear values, and then it helps us act without being hindered by anxiety or the need for perfection. Let's also talk about how mindfulness sharpens self-trust. This is a huge factor as well, because a lot of times we get stuck not trusting ourselves and the things that we're doing. We doubt ourselves. I've had a lot of people that I work with that are very powerful, that have worked in really high positions, that have a lot of self-doubt. So this is very common. Every time you observe your thoughts without judgment and act anyway, you reinforce trust in your ability to handle discomfort. Self-trust is the foundation of high performance. Mindfulness for self-trust is about developing a clear, non-judgmental awareness of your own thoughts, feelings, and sensations. This practice strengthens your intuition, provides reliable internal data, allowing you to make intentional decisions and take committed action. When you consistently act in alignment with your values and inner wisdom, your confidence in yourself grows. And if this is something you're struggling with, we talk a lot more about it in episode 30, where we focus on confidence and self-esteem and how to build it up in different ways you can do it. So make sure to check that out if that's something that feels like it's lacking. We also have the neutral mindset. Mindfulness helps you stay neutral, not too hyped and not too hesitant. High performers who master that zone make cleaner decisions and recover from mistakes faster. The neutral zone is a term coined by transition expert William Bridges to disturb the disorienting in-between psychological space that occurs after letting go of something familiar but before a new reality has taken hold. It's a phase of transition that is often uncomfortable, ambiguous, and confusing, but is also highly creative and a transformative period. The neutral zone mindset involves intentionally navigating the ambiguous phase with a sense of mindful presence and self-compassion, rather than rushing to fix the discomfort. And I think this is something that a lot of my clients have struggled with, is trying to fix the things they're feeling. That's not the goal of this stuff. Sometimes we can fix things. Problem solving is a factor, but it's not always what we do. There's a lot of different tools out there because sometimes we can't just fix it. We have to work with it. This is a great time to use Trevor Moawad's neutral thinking if you're familiar with any of his work. He has a great book out there called Returning to Neutral. If you want to get into that and see what he's doing, it can be pretty powerful too. But this is a great zone to start putting that into work. And then the power of reframe. We want to reframe procrastination as feedback. When you procrastinate, it's information. Ask, what emotion am I avoiding? What story is running in the background? Mindfulness turns procrastination into data because it helps us collect it. By reframing procrastination as feedback, you approach the behavior not as a moral failing, but as a valuable signal. Instead of asking, why am I so lazy, you can ask, what is this delay telling me? This shift in perspective transforms procrastination from a source of shame into a tool for self-awareness and intentional action. Remember, failure is a data point. If you're struggling with failure, go back to episode 26. We talk about handling setbacks and failures and what that looks like and how to overcome it. Things are going to go wrong. That's part of the work that we're doing trying to reach these high levels. We have to be able to navigate when things go wrong. And we train mindfulness like a skill, not a hobby. Daily reps matter. 1-minute awareness drills, mindful transitions, post-performance reflection, and more. The same way you train physical endurance, you train mental clarity. We have to do the reps. You can't just think about this thing on game day and expect it to work out. You can't just think about it when that big meeting's showing up an hour later. You have to do it every day. By reframing mindfulness as a skill rather than a casual hobby, you can approach its training with the same dedication and rigor as you would learning an instrument or a sport. This mindset shift transforms sporadic past practice into a structured, intentional effort that yields measurable and compounding results. Going further, this is the long game. It's consistency over intensity. Both procrastination and burnout are short-term reactions. Mindfulness reorients you to process, not outcome. It's about showing up with intention, not perfection. Consistency over intensity is a powerful framework for achieving sustainable growth and success in nearly any area, from personal development to business and health. It emphasizes that a series of small, regular efforts over time will produce far more significant and lasting results than short, intense bursts of effort. This concept is supported by the principle of compounding. This teaches us that the exponential impact of small actions consistently repeated is what truly drives transformation. So build things up, stack things on top of each other, use the momentum to keep on motivating yourself and keep on going. The mindful definition of success. Success isn't speed, it's alignment. When what you're doing, thinking, and feeling are all in sync, procrastination loses its grip and performance becomes effortless. Mindfulness shifts the focus from external validation and outcomes to internal clarity, purpose, and well-being. Instead of viewing success as a distant destination to be reached, mindfulness redefines it as a process of living with intention, awareness, and alignment with your core values. This is sustainable as our goal here at Premier Performance is to set you up for a lifetime, not for a month. With the Premier Mindset, we're trying to give you guys the tool that's going to find success as you move forward for decades. This is not about short-term relief. I've had a lot of people come in and try and get things fixed right there in like a session or two, and I understand it, especially when we're in pain. But we also got to keep in mind, if we want to build something that's going to last years, last the pressure of time, it has to be built over time, and it's going to involve a very strong foundation. So let's start building that foundation now. Set yourself up for sustainable success that you can continue for the rest of your life. Don't just have a hot period where things worked out for a couple months or a couple weeks. We got to get these things set up to continue to work for us forever. Now some questions for you guys to think about. I want you guys to write these down, answer them for yourself, reflect on them. There can be journal questions. There can be questions that you answer and you talk to someone else about. And I'd love for you guys to send me the answers that you guys are getting. I've gotten some answers. They're very interesting to see. It's very cool to hear how you guys are thinking through these things. And it's led to me being able to provide you guys with some cool free tools that you can start using now too. So a couple questions for you to think about. First one, what have you been procrastinating? What thing have you been pushing off? Let's write it down. Let's list it, even if you just want to do some bullet points. Next, if you could conquer procrastination, how differently would your life look? Let's consider, what if procrastination just wasn't a thing? It didn't exist. What would change? How would your life look then? After that, how have you used mindfulness in your life? Have you ever used it? Have you used it accidentally? Do you do mindfulness every day? How has it shown up? What has it done? And finally, when is the last time you've been truly 100% in the moment, not distracted by anything? Can you even think of a time that has happened? Reflect on that, write about those things, answer those questions, send us those answers. We'd love to hear from you guys. Resilient minds, premier results. Recognition is the first step. We have to see what's going on. We have to understand what we're doing to get ourselves out of these traps and find ourselves back on that path towards success. Success is there for every one of you. The only thing getting in our way is ourselves. So let's get out of our own way and let's enjoy that success. And it doesn't mean it'll be easy. This stuff is hard, but it's worth it. If you found this helpful, make sure to leave a review. Reviews are really helpful to us spreading this and getting it more out there and creating more awareness of these techniques and tools. And that's our main goal, is just to get it out to as many people as possible. So make sure to leave us a review. That does help us out, whether that's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or somewhere else. On top of that, if there's anyone in your mind that struggles with staying in the moment or procrastinating quite often, send them this episode. It might really help them. It might start them on a path to overcoming these obstacles in their life, because we don't have to get stuck with these things. So make sure to share this with somebody. Let's see how it works. Let's see if it does help them out, and it gives you guys something you guys can talk about together too. I make it a point to give you actionable tools to find success in your life. So let me know if it's helping. I'd love staying connected with you all. Let me know about the successes, the failures, the disappointments, the struggles. If something's working, tell me. If something's not working, tell me. I just like getting involved and knowing what's happening in your guys' life. And at the end of the day, I just want to be a resource to help out the best I can with whatever you guys got going on. Life is hard enough. Let's make it easier together. If you do want to reach out, there's a lot of different ways you can. You can email me to connect at tmahler@premierperformancereno.com. My last name is spelled Mahler. You can text or call me directly at 775-561-0056. We got the Instagram and the TikTok with the same name, Premier_Performance_Reno for both of those. And we're building communities in all these social media sites, so make sure to get involved, because we're going to do more and more things, post more content, and get you guys connected with each other as kind of like a networking event or community as well. We have our Facebook and LinkedIn page, which is both the same name, Premier Performance LLC for both of those. And then the Twitter, which is @Premier Reno LLC, or the X, again, @Premier Reno LLC. And then our website, www.premierperformancereno.com. Make sure to check that out. Check out what we are doing. We're also going to be posting research and a bunch of evidence-based aspects of the work we do onto that site as we continue to grow it. So make sure to check in on these things, get involved in these communities. At the end of the day, this is all focused on high-achieving individuals, whether that's athletes, business professionals, entrepreneurs, or anything in between. So we're building up these communities to help you guys connect with each other, because there's not many people out there that work in this mindset. So make sure to get involved, and we're going to keep building these things up. Next week, we're going to keep going with this, and we're going to talk about EMDR. It's one of my most favorite topics to cover, so I'm very excited for that episode. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to get really deep into the research to create a nice episode for you guys. So that'll be good. We're going to dive into what that looks like, how you can use that, and I think that's really like the secret sauce of what we do here at Premier Performance too. So it'll be cool giving you guys a close look at it. Other than that, you guys go enjoy yourself, go live your life, do the best you can, be successful and reach these high levels of success with whatever you're doing. Don't be afraid to optimize your performance. And if you're struggling, let us know. Let's get something set up and get you taken care of. I do free consultations for people all the time just to let you know what I can do or even point you in a direction to get you what you need. So go do what you can do. Go have some fun. Enjoy yourself. And I will see you guys soon.